Growing up as the only child of a single mother, I spent many an hour in waiting rooms. My greatest companion? The Game Boy. That little portable system kept me company for a good chunk of my childhood. It didn't matter that the only colours available were black and green, or that it wasn't backlit so you had to angle it so the screen would catch the light but not cause a glare. The games were solid and provided hundreds of hours of entertainment. That thing was just awesome. On one occasion, I was playing Best of the Best Karate Championship while I was waiting for my mom at the dentist, and when an older man saw me with my Game Boy, he asked me the question, "Are you winning?" This started happening more and more, always asked for some reason by older men. Of course, it wouldn't always be a fighting game, and if I was playing something like, say, Zelda, and they asked, "Are you winning?" I'd tell them it's not that kind of game. This response would confuse them, so after that, anytime someone asked me, I would just nod and smile. Over the years, this is a question I've thought a lot about. How do you know if you're winning at a video game? Most games have a win state, but is merely making progress in a game enough to say that you're winning? Look, we've all been there. You start playing a new game with a somewhat obscure introduction and wonder, are you actually playing it right? Like that long slope at the start of Silent Hill 2 where you don't come across anyone or anything for like 5 minutes, and that doubt and discomfort you feel was intentional on the part of the game designers, and you shake your fist and go, "Oh, you sneaky scamps, Team Silent." It is rare to get lost in modern games, what with the obligatory quest markers, and in recent years there has been a lot of criticism for this being too hand-holdy. I would still favour this form of game design versus the one from my childhood. Growing up in the 90s, you would frequently get stuck in games, and not because of any difficult boss or tricky puzzle. You'd be thoroughly enjoying yourself, sometimes for several hours, and then it would happen. The "where the f do I go, what the f do I do" moment. And I tell you, nothing felt more demeaning than when you hit that point. I remember my worst one was in Mystic Quest. No, not that one. This one. The one called Final Fantasy Adventure in the States and Seiken Densetsu in Japan, which was the first of the Secret of Mana series, but on Game Boy. Anyway, there was this section where I got absolutely stonewalled. About halfway through the game, you have to get into this secret cave, and the only clue you get reads, "palm trees and 8." Now, yeah, I know this is technically a puzzle, but the area you have to work with is so large, I'm putting this in the "where the f do I go, what the f do I do" category. I looked at every single palm tree I could find, somewhere with 8 palm trees. Push a palm tree for 8 seconds. Hit the 8th palm tree 8 times. I tried everything that my tiny little brain could fathom. I did have the first part of the Mystic Quest guide in a magazine, but it ended right before this section. After some effort, I did eventually track down a copy of the next issue with part 2 of the guide, and the solution was this. You had to walk around these 2 palm trees in a figure 8 pattern, and the cave opened up. After months of frustration, I could not believe the solution was this dumb. Even though I was able to make it through the rest of the game with little trouble, I was left with a sour taste in my mouth. And it begs the question, is winning in a video game really just making it to the end? There's often a cheap way of beating even the most difficult of games. With the popularity of speedrunning and online streaming, the bar has been raised significantly. Can you call yourself good if you can't beat Super Metroid in under an hour, sequence breaking the f*** out of it with shine sparks and wall jumps? Can you call it winning if you haven't defeated Gwyn, Lord of Cinder, merely by slinging poo at him? I mean, Jesus Christ, Dante Ravioli figured out you can beat Verdugo in the 4th Resident Evil with just a door. It took him 2 hours. Then you've got games without any real point. OG Minecraft didn't have an ending. You existed in the world and you made your own fun. But even when a win state was programmed into it, who do you really think is winning? Someone who defeats the Ender Dragon? Or a person who makes a one-to-one recreation of Resident Evil 2? All of this brought me to something that was significantly harder to answer. What if you apply this question to real life? You could argue that as long as you're not dead, you're winning. Making it to the end of life means you die. Sure, I mean, characters sometimes die at the end of games, but it's pretty rare. Same with movies or books. I mean, think about it. If every piece of media we consumed ended with our main characters old and frail or being knocked over by a bus, it wouldn't be very uplifting. If you make it past 70 without being murdered or self-destructing, it's seen as a net positive. Saying that, if you get to old age and you did nothing but sit in your ass for your whole life, most people wouldn't call that winning. So how do you win at life? In Western civilization, success is usually measured by one of 3 things: money, fame, or power. Money affords you comfort, fine dining, lots of shiny things. Fame means you're known, loved, revered, that you're important. People want to be you and be inside of you. Power lets you mingle in the upper echelons of society. On the surface, power and fame may look similar, but power gives you influence. You know the right people. You can make things happen. But if this seems like a lot to take on, don't worry about it. There's one unifying factor of these three elements of winning, and that is charisma. Think Tom Cruise before we knew just how mental he was. A firm handshake, looking people in the eye, speaking slowly and clearly, that $1 million smile. Yes, those who are charismatic are destined to win at life. And hey, it's no big deal if you don't have it. Charisma can be learnt. And it doesn't hurt to be beautiful either. And don't give me that, oh, I wasn't born with good features. Look at you with your big dick swagger. You're already halfway to being beautiful. The rest is just grooming and dressing better. Do a couple of hours in the Stairmaster and that ass will look like it was carved by the gods themselves. So this feels like winning, right? You got all the ingredients, you're acing those job interviews, negotiating salaries like a pro. Your friends have all become significantly more attractive. You're making moves, climbing the ladder. All the pieces are clicking into place. So now you're rich, famous, and powerful. Well, what next? Get some education so you can impress others at cocktail parties. Maybe start collecting something. Luxury yachts, Fabergé eggs, Nazi memorabilia, those model train sets you always wanted as a kid but could never afford. You should probably get a few hobbies, interesting ones. Climb rocks, race cars, tame lions. Get out there, see the world, learn to kick some ass, not for the sake of fighting, but to enrich the spirit. Speaking of, what about religion? You don't need it, but at least learn to meditate. Open that third eye, connect yourself to the great beyond, the combined unconscious of human existence. So now you're spiritually enlightened and interesting as But something's missing. A partner. Someone to love and be loved by. Actually, forget that. How about multiple partners? It's the 2020s. No one's going to judge you. Move that polycule into your house in the hills. Get yourself a Tesla, a French pug, a private jet, an Epstein Island. Hell, you can get the Epstein Island for a mere 60 million. You've done it. You're winning. You've won. But only a tiny percentage of us are ever going to get anything close to this. What about the rest? What do you do when you turn around at 70 and realize you worked your whole life for this and failed? What if you get it and you're still not happy? What if you get it and you destroyed others in the process and now you can't look at yourself in the mirror? It wasn't until I was in my 30s that I realized how disturbing the me-centric lifestyle was, about my happiness being the most important thing. And for millennials, this kind of thinking was encouraged. There's nothing wrong about having dreams and working towards them. I'm still going to work towards mine of being a professional musician or a voiceover artist or a YouTube person. But it's important to enjoy life as it is. And look, I know that's hard to do if your life sucks, but really for me, it was about learning to fill my life with things I enjoyed and trying to cut out the things that I didn't. If all you ever do is live in a future projection of what you want life to be, well, that's not really living. And you might start feeling hollow when all you ever do is focus on yourself. Look, I'm not going to pretend I've got everything figured out, but I did get to the point where living only for the prospect of success was eating me from the inside out. Be there for your friends, volunteer your time, try to brighten someone's day even if it's just with a kind word or a smile. Leave the world a little better than you found it. After I made a choice to try and live like this, I felt a lot better. Maybe the point of life isn't to try and win, but just to play.